Hey, buddy, hit that subscribe. Just a sec for you, but it means the world to me. The call came in on a quiet Thursday morning, the kind of morning that feels almost too peaceful to be real. Late September. Leaves just starting to turn, air crisp, coffee still warm on my desk. I was sitting in my home office, flipping through retirement account statements, doing what retired men do when they think life is finally settled. Then my phone lit up. Martin Westbrook, my estate attorney. 20 years working together. He never called unless something was seriously off. I stared at the screen for half a second longer than normal before answering. "Robert," he said, voice low, tight, "I need you to come to my office today. This isn't something we can talk about over the phone." That alone made my stomach drop. "What's going on?" I asked. "It's about Patricia," he replied, "and a safe deposit box we just discovered." That word hit hard. Patricia had been gone for 3 years. Pancreatic cancer. Fast. Brutal. 6 months from diagnosis to goodbye. No unfinished business, or so I thought. A safe deposit box. I said, "She never mentioned anything like that." "I found a key while reviewing old estate documents," Martin explained. "The box was at a bank branch she used years ago. They only flagged it during a system audit." I swallowed. "When do you need me there?" 2:00. "And Robert, please come alone. What I need to show you, it's personal." I agreed and hung up, staring out the window of my study. The house sat on 5 acres of quiet Connecticut land. The home Patricia and I built together. 40 years of marriage. 30 years of running my dental practice. Everything felt solid, earned, permanent, or so I believed. At exactly 2:00, I sat across from Martin in his downtown office. Same leather chair, same desk we'd sat at dozens of times before. But today felt different. He placed a small envelope between us. My name was written on it, in Patricia's handwriting. My chest tightened. "She wrote this 3 weeks before she passed," Martin said quietly. I opened it with shaking fingers. Inside was a single sheet of stationery. "My dearest Robert." The words blurred for a second before coming into focus. "If you're reading this, I'm gone. There's something I couldn't bring myself to say while I was alive." I felt like the room tilted. She wrote about overhearing our sons, Daniel and Marcus, outside her hospital room, about hearing them talk when they thought she was asleep. They were planning, she wrote, waiting. Daniel's startup. Fake. Just a website. No real company. Marcus's gambling debts. Tens of thousands of dollars. She warned me they would come after my money. Slowly. Guilt first. Then pressure. Then manipulation. "Protect yourself," she begged. "They're waiting for me to die so they can drain everything." My hands trembled as I lowered the letter. "When did she write this?" I asked. "July 19th, Martin said. She passed August 7th. 3 weeks. 3 weeks she carried this alone." Then Martin asked a question that cracked everything open. "Has anything happened since Patricia passed that matches what she described?" I didn't answer right away, because the truth was already screaming in my head. Daniel moving into the basement, temporarily. Marcus and his wife taking over the guest cottage. Monthly requests. Small at first, then bigger, always urgent. Every single thing exactly as Patricia predicted. I finally looked up. "Everything," I said. "Every damn thing." Martin slid a business card across the desk. "Private investigator. Former FBI. Discreet. I think it's time you hear the full truth." I stared at the card, knowing one thing for sure. Once I made this call, there was no going back. I thought I'd already buried my wife. I didn't realize she left me a warning, and that my own sons were the danger she tried to protect me from. I didn't go straight home after leaving Martin's office. Instead, I sat in my car for almost 20 minutes, hands still on the steering wheel, engine off, just staring at nothing. Patricia's words kept replaying in my head like a broken record. Not dramatic, not emotional, just painfully clear. She hadn't been guessing. She'd been watching. The drive back felt longer than usual. Same roads I'd driven for years. Same trees lining the streets. But everything looked off, like the world had shifted just enough to make me uneasy. When I pulled into the driveway, the house looked exactly the same. Big, quiet, comfortable. But now I saw it differently. The basement apartment lights were on. Daniel's place. My temporary guest of almost 3 years. From the guest cottage, I heard laughter, Marcus and Beth watching TV, living rent-free like it was a vacation spot. My home, their playground. Inside the house, the smell of coffee and takeout hit me. Someone had ordered food again. Nobody asked me. Nobody ever did. I walked past a great room without saying a word. Didn't announce myself. Didn't stop to chat. For the first time, I realized how often I played the background character in my own life. I locked myself in my study. That's when the memories started lining up. Daniel visiting Patricia in hospital, always polite, always concerned, but somehow always steering the conversation toward finances. So, Dad, are your retirement accounts still with Vanguard? You ever think about angel investing? You should really enjoy your money while you're still healthy. At the time, I thought he was just awkward, maybe nervous, maybe trying too hard. Now, it sounded like scouting. Marcus was quieter, smarter about it. He played the sympathy card, talked about stress, bills, anxiety, how hard life was these days. I'd believed him. Hell, I'd want to believe him. That night, Daniel knocked on my study door. "Hey, Dad," he said casually, leaning against a frame like he owned the place. "Everything good? You seem kind of quiet today." I looked at him, really looked. Mid-30s, healthy, no real job, still calling himself an entrepreneur, living in my basement like a college kid who never left. "Yeah," I said, "just tired." He nodded, then smiled. "By the way, I wanted to circle back on that startup thing we talked about. The developer I mentioned, he's getting offers from other investors. No pressure or anything. Just figured I'd keep you in the loop." There it was. Perfect timing. Patricia's voice echoed in my head. "They'll make it sound like it's your idea." "I'll think about it," I replied. Daniel grinned. "Take your time. We've got options." He walked away. I sat there, pulse pounding. The next morning, I called the number on the card Martin gave me. "David Chun," the voice answered. Calm, sharp, professional. "I was told you might be able to help me understand something." I said. "I already know why you're calling," he replied. "Your attorney filled me in. Let's meet." We met at a small coffee shop about 20 minutes from my house. Neutral territory. No connections. David was mid-50s, gray at the temples, eyes that missed nothing. The kind of guy who didn't waste words. "I did some preliminary digging," he said, sliding a thin folder across the table. "And yeah, your wife was right." That sentence hit harder than I expected. He opened the folder. Daniel startup? Smoke and mirrors. No registration. No employees. The address listed was a shipping store. Phone number tied to a virtual line. "It's a front," David said. "Looks legit to people who don't know what to look for. Costs a couple $100 to set up. He's been pitching it." To me, I said, "And others." David nodded. Small fish. Friends. Old colleagues. Nobody who'd push back too hard. Then he flipped the page. Marcus is worse. Gambling accounts. Online poker. Sports betting. Numbers that made my chest tighten. Debt. I asked. Over 47 grand. And climbing. Exactly what Patricia wrote. I leaned back, handshaking. "So what now?" I asked. David didn't hesitate. "If you really want to know how deep this goes, we listen." That evening, back at home, I watched my sons laughing together like nothing was wrong. Dinner on my dime. Electricity on my dime. Roof over their heads. Also mine. They weren't desperate. They were comfortable. And comfort doesn't come from fear. It comes from control. I thought about Patricia. Weak. Dying. Overhearing her own children planning for a future that started after she was gone. She tried to protect me. Now it was my turn. I picked up my phone and sent one text to David. "Do it." I thought my sons were struggling. Turns out they were patient. And patience is dangerous when someone's waiting for you to break. The equipment went in on a Tuesday. David said it was best to move fast, no warning, no hesitation. The less time I had to overthink it, the better. His team showed up while Daniel and Marcus were both out, probably grabbing food or pretending to job hunt. 2 unmarked cars. No logos. No noise. They worked like ghosts. Smoke detectors. Clock radios. Picture frames. Even a decorative shelf I'd never paid attention to. By the time they were done, my house looked exactly the same. That was the scariest part. Audio only. David reminded me, common areas only. Completely legal. We're not spying, we're documenting. Documenting my own home. I signed off on it with a pen that felt heavier than it should have. Once they left, the waiting started. Day 1, nothing. Just normal noise. TV in the great room. Someone laughing too loud. The microwave beeping. Marcus arguing with Beth about money. But not enough to mean anything. At least not yet. Day 2, more of the same. Daniel pacing while on his phone, talking in buzzwords. Scalability. Burn rate. Early stage growth. It sounded impressive until you realize none of it actually meant anything. I listen at night in my study, headphones on, volume low, heart pounding like I was doing something illegal, even though I wasn't. Day 3, still nothing. I almost convinced myself this was all overkill. Maybe Patricia misunderstood. Maybe grief twisted things. Then came day 6. It was late evening. I was reviewing the recordings like I had every night when I heard Daniel's voice come through my headphones, clear as if he were sitting right next to me. "I'm telling you, man," Daniel said, relaxed, confident. "We can stretch this another year easy." Another voice laughed. "Marcus, as long as Beth keeps selling the 'we're saving up' story, he totally buys it." My hands froze on the desk. Daniel continued, "You just gotta pace it. Can't hit him with big numbers too fast. Guilt first, then opportunity." Sophia chimed in. "So, what are you going to ask again about the startup money?" "Soon," Daniel said. "But not yet. You never want to look thirsty. The trick is making him think helping us is his idea." My stomach dropped. This wasn't frustration. This was strategy. Marcus lowered his voice. "Once he's gone, the state splits anyway. But if we can pull money now, that's just bonus." "Exactly," Daniel replied. 40 grand for the business. 35 to help with your debt. That's 75 on top of whatever we inherit. "And the house," Sophia added. Daniel laughed. "That's the real prize. Plus the retirement accounts. What was it? Like $2 million. 2.3, Marcus said casually, like they were talking about a used car, not their father's life. I pulled the headphones off, hands shaking, chest tight. The room felt smaller, the walls closer. My own house, my safe place, had turned into a planning room for my own financial execution. They weren't waiting for me to fail. They were waiting for me to die. The next morning, I didn't confront anyone. I played my role, ate breakfast, read the paper, asked Marcus how the job search was going, nodded sympathetically when Daniel complained about investor fatigue. They had no idea, and that terrified me more than anything. David called later that day. "You heard enough?" he asked. "More than enough," I said. "There's more," he replied. "They're sloppy when they think they're safe. Give it another day or two. You'll have everything you need." That night, the recordings caught something worse. Beth whispering, "What if he changes the will?" Daniel scoffed. "He won't. He's still hung up on Mom. That works in our favor." That line hit me like a punch to the gut. My grief, my loyalty, they were counting on it. I sat in my study until after midnight, staring at Patricia's letter laid out in front of me. She'd known. She'd heard them. And she'd still smiled at them from her hospital bed. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused, because betrayal doesn't hurt the most when it's loud. It hurts when it's calm, calculated, and done by people who know exactly how to push your buttons. I opened my laptop and started a document titled Timeline. Dates, conversations, requests, patterns. Every little thing I used to brush off. No more excuses. No more denial. They thought the house belonged to them. They thought I was blind. What they didn't know was that every word they said was already sealing their fate. Once you hear the truth, you can't unhear it. Every laugh in the house felt fake now. Every casual, "Hey, Dad," sounded rehearsed. I moved through my own home like a guest, nodding, smiling, playing dumb. While inside, everything was locked in. The recordings didn't stop. If anything, they got worse. Daniel grew bolder. Marcus got sloppy. The more comfortable they felt, the more they talked. Money numbers. Timing. How long they could keep me soft before I started asking questions. They weren't just reacting to life. They were managing me. 3 nights later, I heard Daniel say something that made my blood go cold. Once everything's locked in, we just gotta keep him stable. No surprises. No big emotional swings. Marcus laughed. Yeah, God forbid he starts thinking clearly. That was it. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just about money anymore. It was about control. I sent the audio files to Martin the next morning. Secure transfer encrypted, time-stamped. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. "Robert," he said slowly, "this is serious. This isn't just financial manipulation. This is premeditated exploitation." "So what do we do?" I asked. Martin didn't hesitate. "We protect everything." Immediately. 2 days later, I sat in Martin's office again, but this time I wasn't shaking. He laid out the plan like a chessboard. First move, irrevocable trust. Once assets go into it, he explained, they're untouchable. Not by your sons. Not by future pressure. Not even by bad decisions made under stress. Second move, documentation. Every recording. Every financial ask. Patricia's letter. All proof that this wasn't emotional. It was intentional. Third move, Martin looked me dead in the eye. Eviction. The word hung in the air. They live on your property without leases, he continued. Legally, they're occupants, not tenants. You have every right to reclaim your home. My throat tightened. They're my sons. They stopped acting like sons a long time ago, Martin said quietly. That night, I walked the property alone. The basement apartment. Daniel's space. Clothes everywhere. Expensive gadgets. No sign of struggle. The guest cottage. Marcus's place. Takeout boxes. A big TV. New furniture. They weren't stuck. They were settled. And settlement creates entitlement. I went back inside and sat at my desk. Patricia's letter in front of me. She had seen this coming. She just didn't live long enough to stop it. I picked up my phone and texted Martin one word. Proceed. The trust paperwork arrived faster than I expected. Page after page of legal language. Protection clauses, fail-safes. My house. My retirement. Everything Patricia and I built. Locked down. Upon my death, my sons would receive the legal minimum. Nothing more. The rest would go where it mattered. Cancer research. Scholarships. Causes bigger than greed. I signed every page without hesitation. For the first time in years, I felt steady, but the hardest part still remained. Serving them. I chose a Sunday night. Family dinner. I said casually. They showed up smiling, relaxed. Probably thought I was about to open the wallet again. We ate. Small talk. Awkward laughter. They waited. After the plates were cleared, I stood up and placed 2 envelopes on the table. One in front of Daniel. One in front of Marcus. What's this? Daniel asked. Read it, I said. The color drained from his face. Marcus tore his open and froze. Eviction notices. 60 days. Legal language. No negotiation. This has to be a joke. Daniel snapped. You can't be serious. I opened my laptop. Press play. Their voices filled the room. Every plan. Every number. Every laugh. Silence followed. Pure. Heavy. Final. They thought the worst was over. They thought eviction was a punishment. What they didn't know was that this was just a beginning. The room stayed silent for a long moment after the recording stopped. No one spoke. Daniel's face had gone pale, like all the confidence had drained out of him in one shot. Marcus wouldn't look up from the table. Beth stared at the laptop, like it might start talking again. Sophia covered her mouth, eyes glossy, shaking. I closed the laptop slowly. Not angry, not yelling, just done. You planned this, I said calmly, while your mother was dying, while I was grieving. You saw me as a wallet, not a father. Daniel jumped to his feet. Dad, listen. This is what it sounds like. I held up a hand. Stop. You've said enough for a lifetime. I pulled Patricia's letter from my jacket pocket. She wrote this 3 weeks before she passed. I said, she heard you in the hallway. She tried to protect me. Marcus finally looked up, his voice cracking. Mom knew. She knew everything. The truth landed like a bomb. Beth stood up, voice sharp. You can't just throw your own kids out. That's heartless. I looked at her, then back at my sons. Heartless is planning someone's financial death while pretending to love them. Daniel slammed his hands on the table. So what? You're just cutting us off. No, I replied. You cut yourselves off years ago. Then I told them about the trust. Irrevocable, locked, untouchable. After I'm gone, I said, you each get $5,000. That's it. The rest goes to cancer research, scholarships, and causes that actually matter. Sophia sobbed. Beth started yelling. Marcus sank back into his chair like his legs had given out. You can't do this, Beth snapped. We'll fight it. With what? I asked. The recordings? The fake company? The gambling debts? Silence. Daniel tried one last angle. Soft voice. Shaky hands. Dad, please. We made mistakes. Everyone does. Just give us another chance. I looked at him. The kid I taught to ride a bike. The boy who used to fall asleep on my chest during Sunday football. And I felt nothing. You didn't make a mistake, I said quietly. You made a plan. I turned and walked out of the dining room. Locked myself in my study. Behind the door, everything exploded. Shouting, crying, accusations flying like bullets. I sat at my desk and wrote everything down. Time, words, reactions. Just like Martin told me. Documentation wins wars. The next 8 weeks were brutal. Week 1, they sent family friends to mediate. I refused. Week 2, their lawyer accused me of elder abuse. Martin replied with audio evidence. Lawyer disappeared. Week 3, Daniel showed up with flowers and apologies. I closed the door in his face. Week 4, Marcus faked a medical scare. I sent a fruit basket. Didn't visit. Week 5, they tried a therapy intervention. I called the police. Week 6, they offered to pay rent. Martin used it as proof of guilt. By week 7, the house was quiet again. Boxes, tape, angry whispers. They were running out of moves. Eviction day came on a cold morning. Sheriff's deputies. Paperwork. Dead silence. Daniel packed like a kid being kicked out of college. Marcus barely spoke. Beth looked furious. Sophia didn't stop crying. At noon, they were gone. I watched from the window as the truck pulled away. My sons, leaving my life. That night, I sat alone in the quiet house. No voices, no manipulation, just peace and grief. Because protecting yourself doesn't feel like victory. It feels like survival. I thought losing my sons would break me. What I didn't expect was how light the house felt once they were gone. The first morning after they left was strange. No footsteps above the basement. No TV noise from the guest cottage. No passive-aggressive notes on the counter. Just silence. Real silence. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, staring at the empty chairs like they might start talking again. For years, I confused noise with family. Turns out, all that noise was just pressure. I didn't feel happy. I felt free. The legal stuff wrapped up faster than I expected. The lawsuit went through clean. Back rent, fraud, court fees. The judge didn't hesitate. The evidence was airtight. Recordings, financial trails, Patricia's letter. Judgment came down hard. Wage garnishments, long-term consequences. I didn't celebrate. I just nodded and closed the file. Justice isn't loud. It's final. Spring rolled in, and with it, clarity. The house felt too big for one person. Too many memories. Too many echoes of conversations that weren't real. I sold it. Bought a smaller place. Quiet. Comfortable. Just enough space to breathe. The trust stayed locked. Cancer research. Scholarships. A future Patricia would have been proud of. That was the legacy. I started traveling. Places we talked about, but never went. Portugal. Scotland. Long walks, short conversations with strangers, and quiet evenings where nobody wanted anything from me. I wrote Patricia letters I'd never send. You were right. I listened. I'm okay now. Some nights still hurt, but pain fades when peace moves in. On our anniversary, I visited her grave, sat beside it, told her everything. I stopped them, I said. I protected what we built. The wind moved through the trees like a soft reply. People ask me sometimes if I regret it. Cutting off my sons. Losing family. I tell them the truth. I didn't lose them. I lost the illusion. And in return, I got my life back.